The gratitude, obviously, that I've got for the opportunity he gave me, I've talked about that before. It's really the fact that it was always a delight to see him. He always had a big smile, and he would inevitably say something quite funny.
It was just wonderful to watch him, even just sitting there watching him compose or in a studio working with others. It was such a privilege.
The very first song that Roger Cook, my ex-partner, and I wrote was a song called You Got Your Troubles, I've Got Mine. And our publisher, a man called Cyril G, had played the song to George. Now George loved the song, but he said, I really love, who are the guys singing on it? He said, well, they wrote the song. It's Roger Cook and Roger Greenaway. He said, do you think they care to meet me? Well, he's a Pope Catholic. And the first song we recorded with him was Michelle, off the Beatles album, which was a big hit here and in America. Although we didn't get number one, a group called the Overlanders got number one in the UK. We were number 7. But fortunately, we had the big hit in America. And George came with us to the United States to do a whistle-stop tour of radio stations. And that's how it all started.
When people sort of talk about their working with George, we did have a very unique experience starting that company up, because nobody else had done that. There was the EMI, Decca and Pi, and we just started something up, the men started something up that had never been done before, and I think it was terribly brave.
I joined Air Studios in 1973, age 18, and met George very soon afterwards. At the time, George had already completed his life's work, in most people's opinions, having worked with the Beatles for many years. But George was very, very modest about that. He never, ever spoke about it. And sometimes he'd be asked about the Beatles and he'd be very self-effacing. And all he would ever say is they were fantastic songwriters.
I joined Airedale in 1977. It was a wonderful opportunity that I was given to join the company as a junior producer. George, whenever I met him, always put me at my ease, and also did so for all of the composers that we worked with and whom he met. He made them all feel extremely special.
When George was on the session with you, you just felt so secure. You just knew that he wasn't domineering, he wasn't pushy, he wasn't involving to the point of restriction. You just knew he was in charge. He was you knew everything was great. You knew everything was going to turn out well, and you could enjoy the day.
The first time I met George was, I'm pretty sure, when I look back at it, was when I got the Producer of the Year award for ABC, and I was pretty thrilled. I can't remember if he came up to me or I went up to him, but he was very friendly. And we got talking about record production almost sort of straight away. The thing was, George was the second record producer I was ever aware of. Obviously, I think probably everyone would say the first record producer I ever aware of was Phil Spector. But George was definitely the second, and of the two, the one I preferred way more.
I'd only been chief engineer for about 3 weeks when George came to me and said, I've bought this studio in the West Indies. I want you to go out there and build it with David.
Fantastic.
I said, going, George, I've only been the chief engineer for 3 weeks. And I said, it's not a problem, off you go. And I was 26. I'd never built a studio before. And I have to say I was absolutely amazed at the faith the man had in me. More than I had in myself, I think, at the time. But yes, a life-changing moment.
I first met George in 1981 in Montserrat when I went out there to record the Police album Ghosts in the Machine. And I very clearly remember meeting George for the first time. He was very tall and proper and well-spoken, and I was a bit in awe, really, I guess, to start with. And then very soon his amazing character and humility and modestness all came out, and we ended up chatting a lot, and he came up and had dinner with us all at the studio a few times, and after that whenever I saw George, we were the best of friends that could have been anywhere, all different places in England or the world, wherever we'd bump into each other.
A lovely, lovely man, wonderfully funny. We all laughed. It was a very happy office, and everybody thought of it rather. We were rather bizarre, really.
It's funny how you think things happen in life. You know, those people coming together, George and the Beatles, neither would have been quite the same without each other, you know. I mean, the sort of perfect match, you know.
Rough and toothless. Now we have to be rough and toothless, John.
As opposed to
Tough and ruthless. Yeah. Rough and toothless. Which I still use, of course, to this day.
I mean, George definitely gave me my break. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, so fortunate to go in at the top and work my way down to the bottom. That, I mean, you know.